You are listening to Craziest HOA Moments. I wish this was exaggerated. I work as a city permit tech in Albany, New York. I know what requires a permit and what does not. So when Martha Collins, the community standards chair at the cottages at Snowline Landing Association, stood in my driveway screaming that my car battery jump pack was an unlicensed auto repair facility, I knew she was inventing rules on the spot. "You need to remove that equipment immediately," she shouted. "This is a residential zone. I am the reason this neighborhood stays civilized." The jump pack was the size of a lunchbox. It was plugged into an outdoor outlet because my sister's car battery died during the storm the night before. She has a disability that makes transportation critical, and I was not about to let some HOA chair with a clipboard and orange cones turn a dead battery into a crisis. Martha dragged one of her cones closer to my driveway apron. She always had those cones. She moved them around the neighborhood like chess pieces, blocking guest parking, marking phantom violations, creating her own little enforcement theater. "This is your final warning," she said. "If I see this setup tomorrow, I will have your vehicle towed for code violations." "It is a battery charger," I said. "It is not a business." She pulled out her phone and took 3 photos. The sound of the camera shutter felt like a threat. "Community Standard Section 9 Subsection 4, she said. "No commercial activity. No automotive work. No storage of commercial equipment visible from the street." I gripped my pen too tightly. I had grabbed it on my way out the door, some reflex from years of counter work where you need something in your hand to feel in control. "That is not what that section says," I replied. "I have the bylaws." She smiled. "You are not the first person I have corrected, and you will not be the last." That line landed like a slap. I let her think I was cornered, because my trump card needed her to overreach. I knew exactly what she was doing. She was pressuring neighbors to sign complaints and calling it community support. She had done it to the guy 2 streets over who left his trash bins out an hour late. She had done it to the couple with the inflatable snowman. Now it was my turn. The storm had dumped 14 inches overnight. The neighborhood plows came through around 4 in the morning and left a compacted ridge of slush at every driveway apron. I shoveled mine before dawn because I had to meet a service technician before they canceled due to the storm. My sister needed her prescription delivery, and the pharmacy used contract drivers who would not wait. I cleared the driveway, the walkway, the mailbox cluster area. I even cleared the path to the trash enclosure because I knew the pickup crew would skip us if it was not accessible. But none of that mattered to Martha. She returned an hour later with a bag of ice melt with a torn corner. She dragged it with her everywhere, some kind of prop she used to justify her authority. She set it down on the snowbank at the edge of my driveway and pointed at the slush pile. "You did not remove the snow properly," she said. "It is blocking drainage." "There is no drainage here," I said. "This is a raised driveway. The runoff goes to the street." She opened a small notebook. "I am documenting this. Failure to maintain drainage. Failure to remove snow from common areas. Unauthorized equipment." "The mailbox cluster is not my property," I said. "That is HOA common area. I cleared it as a courtesy." She snapped the notebook shut. "The bylaws require residents to maintain adjacent common areas. You should have cleared the entire sidewalk row, not just your section." I stared at her. The sidewalk row stretched 100 feet. Nobody clears the whole thing. A security guard hovered near the clubhouse door. He was watching us. I recognized him from the night shift. He never said much, but he was always around when Martha was on a tier. I wondered if he was taking notes or just avoiding her. Martha moved another orange cone. This one landed directly in front of my driveway. "That is a fire lane marker," she said. "You are parked illegally." "This is my assigned space," I replied. She pointed at the painted curb. "That yellow stripe means restricted access. I am updating the fire lane map this month. Consider this advance notice." There was no yellow stripe. The curb was standard gray concrete with some rock salt staining. She was fabricating the violation in real time. I pulled out my phone and took a photo of the curb, the cone, and her standing there with the ice melt bag at her feet. "Do not photograph me," she snapped. "That is harassment." "You photographed my property," I said. "I am documenting the conditions." She turned and walked toward the clubhouse. "I will have the violation notice delivered by end of business today," she called over her shoulder. I moved to the cottages at Snowline Landing 2 years ago because it was close to work and the units were affordable. The neighborhood is the kind of place where the mailbox cluster is the unofficial courtroom. Everyone knows everyone's business. The HOA name is on every sign, every newsletter, every violation notice. The association has a reputation for being strict, but I thought that meant they kept the grounds nice and enforced noise rules. I did not realize they had turned winter enforcement into a weapon. Martha Collins was appointed Community Standards Chair 3 years ago. She invented guidelines on the fly. If the bylaws did not cover something, she would draft a memo and call it policy. If someone challenged her, she would pull out her bag of ice melt and her orange cones and start measuring things. She carried a ruler. She measured snow depth like she was running an investigation. I had seen her do it to the guy across the way who parked his truck at an angle. She knelt in the slush and measured the encroachment with a tape measure. She wrote it down in her notebook and submitted a formal complaint to the management company. The management company was a regional outfit called Prestige Property Solutions. They managed 6 associations in the Albany area. The local rep, a guy named Derek, did whatever Martha told him to do. If she said someone was in violation, Derek would send the notice. If she said the snow contractor needed to make another pass, Derek would call them. The system worked because nobody pushed back. Most people just paid the fines and moved on. But I could not do that. My sister lives with me. She has a mobility disability that makes transportation essential. If they towed my car or blocked my driveway with fake enforcement, she would miss her medical appointments. That was not an option. The stakes were too high. The violation notice arrived at 6 that evening. It was a printed page in a plastic sleeve tucked into my screen door. The header said the Cottages at Snowline Landing Association in bold, and the body was a list of made-up infractions. Unauthorized commercial equipment, failure to clear drainage, fire lane obstruction, improper snow disposal. The fine structure started at $200 and doubled every week. I read it 3 times. The wording was obviously written in Martha's voice. She had phrases like community safety standards and repeat non-compliance risk. The attached photo was recycled from an earlier complaint about a different property. I could tell because the snow depth was different and the driveway angle did not match mine. She had altered the dates and reused old evidence. I called Derek at the management company. He answered on the 3rd ring. "Hey," I said, "I got a violation notice tonight. Half of this is not accurate." He sighed. "Martha filed the complaint this afternoon. I have to process it." "She is using a photo from a different property," I said. "The date is wrong. The fire lane claim is fabricated." "Take it up with the board," he replied. "I just send the notices." "When is the next board meeting?" I asked. 3 weeks. 3 weeks, I repeated. The fine doubles every 7 days. That is $1,600 before I can even challenge it. "You can submit a written appeal," he said, "but the fines accrue until the violation is resolved." I hung up. I sat in my kitchen and stared at the notice. The compliance deadline was 72 hours. If I did not move the jump pack, clear some imaginary drainage, and remove the cone she planted, the fine would hit $400 by the weekend. My sister came into the kitchen. "What is going on?" she asked. "HOA drama," I said. "They are trying to fine me for charging your car battery." She looked at the notice. "That is insane." "I know." "What are you going to do?" I gripped the pen on the counter. "I am going to fight it." The next morning I drove to the city planning office. I work there 3 days a week, and I knew exactly which records to pull. I requested the complaint log for the cottages at Snowline Landing Association going back 2 years. Public records. I also pulled the fire lane map for our district. If Martha was going to claim my driveway was a restricted zone, I wanted the city's official layout. The fire lane map showed nothing. My driveway was not marked. The only restricted zones were the main access road and the emergency turnaround near the retention pond. I printed 3 copies. The complaint log was more interesting. There were 47 entries tied to Martha's name as the reporting party. Most of them were dismissed or closed without action, but 6 of them had notes from the city inspector indicating that the complaints were baseless or retaliatory. One entry from 8 months ago was flagged with the phrase repeat filer pattern behavior. I printed the entire log. I also requested any correspondence between the HOA and the city regarding winter maintenance policies. There was one memo from the previous winter. It clarified that homeowners were responsible for clearing their own driveways and walkways, but they were not required to clear common areas unless they were the assigned maintenance party. The memo specifically said that volunteer clearing of shared spaces did not create an obligation. I printed that too. When I got home, Martha was in the parking lot with her ruler. She was measuring the snow depth at the edge of the guest spaces. A quiet neighbor named Sam was watching from his porch. Sam had lived here longer than anyone. He kept to himself, but he had a reputation for keeping receipts. He told me once that he saved screenshots of the neighborhood group chat because people deleted their messages after arguments. Sam waved me over. "She has been here for an hour," he said quietly. "She is building another case." "Against who?" I asked. "Anyone she can. She tried to get me last month for leaving my trash bin out overnight. I showed her the pickup schedule. She said the schedule did not matter." "Did you get a notice?" I asked. "No. I think she realized I had proof. She moved on." "I need to ask you something," I said. "If this goes to a hearing, will you testify about what you have seen?" He nodded. "I have been waiting for someone to push back. I will help." I felt a flicker of relief. Sam was the kind of ally who did not make noise but always had the receipts when it mattered. That afternoon, I got a call from a number I did not recognize. I answered. A woman's voice said, "This is Linda calling from the management company. We received your appeal." "I did not file an appeal yet," I said. There was a pause. "Oh, then this is a courtesy call. We wanted to inform you that the compliance deadline has been moved up. You have 24 hours to resolve the violations." That is not what the notice said. The notice was updated this morning. "By who?" I asked. The Community Standards Chair requested an expedited review. "Martha," I said. "I cannot comment on individual board members." "This is retaliation," I said. "She is changing the deadlines because I challenged her. You can submit a formal appeal to the board. The board does not meet for 3 weeks." "Correct." I hung up. I called Derek again. He did not answer. I left a voicemail. "I know what Martha is doing. I have documentation. If this fine goes through, I am filing a complaint with the state attorney general." 10 minutes later, I got a text from an unknown number. "Stop harassing HOA staff or we will pursue legal action." I screenshotted the text and forwarded it to Sam. The next morning, Martha was back. This time, she had the snow contractor with her. The contractor was a guy in his 50s with a plow truck that had seen better days. He was standing next to my driveway with a clipboard. Martha was pointing at the slush ridge the plow had left. "You damaged the apron," she told him. "We need to document this for the claim." The contractor looked uncomfortable. I plowed the whole complex. "There is going to be some ridge buildup. That is normal." "The bylaws require clean edges," Martha said. "This is a violation of the service contract." She turned to me. You are responsible for clearing plow damage within 24 hours of snowfall. That is Section 12. I cleared it, I said. You saw me do it yesterday morning. She shook her head. You cleared your driveway. You did not clear the apron transition to the street. That is an HOA surface. The contractor interrupted. Ma'am, with respect, that is not in our contract. We are not responsible for individual apron transitions. Martha glared at him. I will take this up with Prestige. You may go. The contractor walked back to his truck. He caught my eye and gave a slight shrug, like he felt bad but did not want to get involved. Martha pulled out her torn ice melt bag again. She set it down on the ridge and took another photo. This is going in the updated complaint, she said. Failure to maintain HOA surfaces. Neglect of shared infrastructure. That is not a shared surface, I said. That is where the plow pushed the snow. It is on the property line, she replied. That makes it shared. I took a breath. I wanted to shout. I wanted to throw her cones into the snowbank. But I did not. I let her think I was cornered, because my trump card needed her to overreach. I will clear it, I said. Good. You have until noon. She walked back to the clubhouse. I watched her go. The security guard was still hovering near the door. He gave me a look that might have been sympathy. I grabbed a shovel and cleared the ridge. It took 15 minutes. I documented every step with photos. I time-stamped them. I uploaded them to a cloud folder. If Martha tried to claim I did not comply, I had proof. At 12:30, I got another notice. This one was taped to my front door. It said the violation had been updated to include improper snow disposal. Apparently, I had piled the snow too close to the drainage swale. I did not even know we had a drainage swale. I called the city stormwater office. They pulled the site plan for the cottages at Snowline Landing. There was no drainage swale near my unit. The nearest one was 200 feet away on the other side of the retention pond. I asked for a written confirmation. They emailed it to me within the hour. That night, I sat down and built a file. I had the fire lane map. I had the complaint log. I had the stormwater confirmation. I had the city memo on winter maintenance. I had the original violation notice with the recycled photo. I had the text message threat. I had Sam's offer to testify. I had timestamps for every interaction. What I did not have yet was the smoking gun. I needed something that proved Martha was not just overzealous. I needed proof that she was running a corrupt system. I called Sam. He came over with his laptop. He had been saving screenshots of the neighborhood group chat for 2 years. He showed me a thread from the previous December. Martha had posted a message saying that anyone who did not clear their driveway within 6 hours of a snowfall would be fined. Several residents had pushed back, saying 6 hours was not realistic for people who worked night shifts. Martha had replied that the rule was non-negotiable and that repeat offenders would face escalating penalties. Then someone had posted a link to the actual bylaws. The bylaws said 24 hours, not 6. Martha had deleted her original post and claimed it was a misunderstanding. But Sam had the screenshots. He had the original post, the pushback, the bylaw quote, and the deletion timestamp. "Do you have anything else?" I asked. He scrolled through his files. There was a thread about the snow contractor. Someone had asked why the HOA kept renewing the contract with the same company when their service was inconsistent. Martha had replied that the contractor was the only one who met the insurance requirements. But another resident had posted a public bid summary from the previous year. 3 companies had bid on the contract. The company the HOA used was the most expensive. The summary also showed that one of the losing bidders had filed a complaint alleging favoritism. Sam clicked on another screenshot. It was a spreadsheet someone had leaked in the group chat. The spreadsheet listed vendor payments going back 3 years. The snow contractor had received payments that did not match the contract amounts. Some months they were paid double. Other months they were paid for services that were not listed in the contract. The spreadsheet had a column labeled Notes. One entry said Kickback Confirmed. Another said Refer to MC for approval. MC was Martha Collins. "This is it," I said. "This is the evidence." Sam nodded. "I saved it as soon as it was posted. The person who leaked it deleted it an hour later. I think they got scared." "Can I have a copy?" He sent it to me. "Be careful," he said. "If Martha finds out you have this, she will come after you harder." "She already is," I replied. If you are enjoying this story, hit the like button and subscribe for more HOA drama and neighborhood justice content. The next day, I printed the spreadsheet. I also printed the group chat screenshots. I put everything in a folder labeled Evidence of HOA Misconduct. I made 3 copies, one for me, one for Sam, and one for the attorney I was going to consult if this escalated further. I drove to the management company office. I asked to speak to Derek's supervisor. The receptionist told me the regional manager was not available. I left the folder with a note. "This is documentation of financial irregularities and retaliation at the cottages at Snowline Landing. Please review and contact me." I walked out. I felt like I had just lit a fuse. That afternoon, Martha showed up with a tow truck. The truck pulled into the guest lot and idled near my building. Martha was standing next to the driver's window, pointing at my car. I ran outside. The driver was holding a tablet and looking at my license plate. "What are you doing?" I shouted. "This vehicle is in violation of fire lane access," Martha said. "It is being removed." "This is my assigned space," I said. "There is no fire lane." The driver looked at me. "Do you have proof of assignment?" I pulled up the lease on my phone and showed him the space number. He looked at Martha. "This matches the space." She insisted. "The space designation was changed last month. He is parked illegally." The driver shook his head. "Lady, I need documentation from the property manager before I tow anyone. I am not doing this on your say-so." Martha pulled out her phone. "I am calling Derek right now." The driver put the truck in gear. "Call whoever you want. I am not towing without a signed order." He drove off. Martha turned to me. "You think you are clever," she said, "but I have been doing this for 3 years. You are not going to win." I smiled. I let her think I was cornered, because my trump card needed her to overreach. That night, I got a call from a number with a 518 area code. I answered. A man's voice said, "This is Tom Reynolds, Regional Supervisor for Prestige Property Solutions. I received your documentation." "Good," I said. "I need to ask you some questions. Can you come to my office tomorrow morning?" "Yes." "Bring any additional records you have. This is serious." "I know." I hung up. I texted Sam. "The regional supervisor wants to meet. This is happening." He replied immediately. "Good. Let me know if you need me there." The next morning, I drove to the Prestige office in Colony. It was a low brick building with a parking lot that had been plowed but not salted. I walked in and checked in with the receptionist. Tom Reynolds came out a few minutes later. He was a tall guy in his 40s with a tired expression. We sat in a conference room. He had my folder open on the table. He also had a laptop and a stack of printouts. "I reviewed everything you sent," he said. "I also pulled the contract files and the board correspondence. There are some significant discrepancies." He turned the laptop toward me. The screen showed an invoice from the snow contractor dated January of the previous year. The amount was $8,000. The contract rate for that month should have been $4,000. "This is one of 12 instances," Tom said. "Every winter the payments to this contractor are inflated. The board approved every payment. Martha Collins signed off on all of them." He clicked to another file. "This is the vendor bid summary. You are correct that the selected contractor was the most expensive. What is more concerning is that the complaint from the losing bidder was never investigated. It was dismissed by the board without review." He leaned back. I also found a pattern in the violation notices. Over the past 2 years, Martha has filed 83 complaints. 61 of them were against residents who questioned board decisions or voted against her proposals. That is not enforcement. That is retaliation. What happens now? I asked. I am recommending that the board remove Martha from her position. I am also recommending that we terminate the contract with the snow contractor and rebid the work. And I am recommending that we refund all fines issued under fabricated violations. He paused. I am also freezing all enforcement actions until we complete an audit. That includes your case. Consider the violations voided. I felt the weight lift. Thank you, I said. He nodded. I am sorry this happened. We should have caught this sooner. I drove home. I called Sam and told him the news. He laughed. It is about time, he said. That afternoon, I got an email from Tom Reynolds. It was a formal notice that the violations against my property had been retracted. The email included an apology and a confirmation that no fines would be assessed. It also said that Martha Collins had been removed from her role as Community Standards Chair and that the board was conducting a review of all her prior complaints. I printed the email and put it on my fridge. The next day, I got another email. This one was from the HOA attorney. It was a cease and desist letter addressed to Martha. The letter ordered her to stop contacting residents directly regarding enforcement matters. Any future complaints had to go through the management company and could not be filed without supporting documentation. I forwarded the email to Sam. He replied with a thumbs up emoji. 2 weeks later, the board held an emergency meeting. I attended. So did Sam and about 30 other residents. The meeting was held in the clubhouse. The room was packed. Tom Reynolds was there. So was the HOA attorney. Martha was not. Tom stood at the front of the room. He explained the audit findings. He showed the payment discrepancies. He showed the retaliation pattern. He showed the spreadsheet that had been leaked and deleted. Several residents asked questions. One woman asked if Martha would face criminal charges. The attorney said that was under review and that they had referred the matter to the district attorney. Another resident asked if the management company would be replaced. Tom said that Prestige was implementing new oversight protocols and that a different property manager would be assigned to the cottages at Snowline Landing. At the end of the meeting, the board voted to adopt a new enforcement policy. Violations could only be issued with photographic evidence and a written explanation. Fines could not be assessed until the resident had an opportunity to respond. All complaints had to be filed through the management company, and board members could not file complaints directly. The vote was unanimous. The following week, I saw Martha in the parking lot. She was loading boxes into her car. She did not look at me. She got in and drove away. Sam texted me later. She is moving out, selling the unit. I replied, good. A month later, I got a letter from the district attorney's office. It said they were investigating financial improprieties involving the cottages at Snowline Landing Association and that I might be contacted as a witness. I called the number on the letter and confirmed I would cooperate. Spring came. The snow melted. The new property manager introduced himself at a neighborhood cookout. His name was Greg. He seemed reasonable. He said his priority was transparency and consistent enforcement. I asked him about the snow contractor. He said they had rebid the contract. A new company had been selected. The pricing was 40% lower. I ran into the city inspector at work one day. He said he had been contacted by the HOA attorney about prior complaints filed by Martha. He confirmed that many of them were baseless and that he had flagged her as a problem filer. He said his report was part of the evidence package. I thanked him. He shrugged. It is part of the job, he said. Some people abuse the system. Eventually it catches up with them. In June, I got a check in the mail. It was a refund from the HOA for all the fines that had been voided. The check was for $400. There was a note attached. This refund is issued as part of a settlement agreement. The Cottages at Snowline Landing Association acknowledges that the violations were issued in error. I cashed the check. I took my sister out to dinner. Sam stopped by my unit one evening with a beer. We sat on the porch. He said the board had hired a forensic accountant to review the past 5 years of financials. The accountant had found more irregularities. The snow contractor was not the only vendor with inflated invoices. There were landscaping contracts, maintenance contracts, and insurance policies that all had red flags. The board is talking about a lawsuit, Sam said, against Martha and the vendors. Will they win? I asked. Probably. The evidence is pretty clear. We sat in silence for a minute. Then Sam laughed. You know what the funniest part is, he said. What? Martha used to say, I am the reason this neighborhood stays civilized. But she was the reason it was falling apart. I smiled. You are not the first person I have corrected, and you will not be the last. That is what she told me. Sam nodded. She told everyone that. Turns out she was wrong. A few months later, I heard that Martha had moved out of state. The district attorney decided not to file criminal charges but recommended that the HOA pursue civil action. The board voted to proceed. The lawsuit was still pending. The new snow contractor did a great job the following winter. The rates were lower, the service was faster, and the plow ridges were minimal. Greg, the new property manager, sent out a newsletter reminding residents that they were only responsible for their own driveways and walkways. Common areas would be handled by the HOA crew. No one was required to volunteer. I cleared my driveway after every storm. I did it on my schedule. No one hassled me. No one moved orange cones into my space. No one showed up with a ruler and a torn bag of ice melt. One morning, I saw the security guard at the clubhouse. He waved. I waved back. He walked over. I just wanted to say I am glad that whole situation got resolved, he said. I saw a lot of things I did not agree with, but I did not know how to speak up. I appreciate that, I said. He nodded. If it happens again, I will say something. It won not, I said. The system changed. He smiled. Good. I went back to work. I processed permits. I answered questions about zoning and code compliance. I helped people navigate city regulations. It is what I do. And when someone at the counter complained about an HOA violation that sounded fabricated, I listened. I pulled the records. I explained what the city actually required. I told them to document everything. Because I know how these things go. I know how power gets abused. And I know that the only way to stop it is to stand up, gather the proof, and force accountability. The HOA retracted the winter violation in writing. Karen was ordered to stop contacting me directly. A city inspector confirmed what the HOA could not enforce. And Martha Collins, the woman who said she was the reason this neighborhood stayed civilized, lost everything because she thought the rules did not apply to her. That is the funny thing about karma. You think you are untouchable. You think you can invent guidelines and move cones and drag your torn ice melt bag around like a badge of authority. But eventually, someone keeps the receipts. Someone brings a public records response showing prior complaints against you for the same behavior. Someone shows the evidence to the management company regional supervisor instead of the local rep who rubber stamps everything you do. And then the whole thing collapses. The management company is fired, an interim manager freezes enforcement, and you lose access to the enforcement portal tools you use to terrorize people. Martha tried to flex authority, but the policy said she could not. That is the beat. That is the punchline. That is justice. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.